Hello everyone! I am Alice of KHR Arts and Cloud Orchid Publishing, and today I am going to talk about my experience with Love Books Tours. First things first, Love Books Tours is a book tour service. And what this means is it is a paid service where you sign up and select a tier, different pay scale system on what kind of tour you would like to book with them. And then they take your book and they put it on a bulletin and have different reviewers sign up to read your book. And then based on a campaign schedule, they then post their review of your book. What this means is that you sign up for the service and you select your pay tier. I personally tell people, and this is from my experience as someone who offers a paid service, social media marketing manager, never take the basement bargain tier. I personally have one of those, and it's purely there just for the people who absolutely insist on having a bargain on things. But at the end of the day, the basement bargain is not going to sign you up for success, and it's not going to yield the results that you're really looking for. So I recommend always, at the very least, take the tier that's one up from the basement bargain. So I selected a mid-tier for the book tour, and what that means is that my book would be on tour for a full week, and I honestly don't remember how many people the mid-tier has. I'll put that below, and I'll get to that in a second why I don't remember that. But it's X number of people are going to participate on the tour, aka read your book and review it and post about it. And then there's some caveats on what exactly is expected of them to participate on the tour. And the levels above that, you can increase the time that your tour goes for. So like a week, 2 weeks, a month, whatever. And then as you go up, there's also other things that you can add on to the tour in order to give you more engagement and more accessibility across platforms and things like that. This is my first time doing a paid service book tour, so I didn't want to go super crazy off the deep end with which tier I was selecting because, first of all, I am limited financially. I only have so much money. I don't want to just throw a whole bunch of money at something that I've never done before. It's just not a smart thing to do, as well as that's not going to give me an accurate representation of what doing a book tour is like. Going for something middle of the road your first time or even a couple of times of doing something will give you a much better idea of what to expect about it and how to compare it to other services. So I selected a mid-tier review campaign. And then how that works, I also checked out the reader side of their website to see, okay, if I, as a reader, wanted to sign up for a book tour, what does that look like? Because then that tells me, the author, what I can expect from the people that are going to participate is what's going to be the level of commitment and participation. And essentially on their website, they have kind of like a little bulletin board marketplace where they have the cover of your book. They tell you the genre, and then they have the little book blurb. So like, the back cover summary of what your book is about. And based on that, they can select what tour they want to do. They can do as many tours as they want. They just have to guarantee that they're going to follow the rules and follow through and do what they're supposed to do. And that's on them. How many they want to sign up for, that's their business. But that's essentially it. And that was the most important part of doing this tour for me, is I wanted to make sure that the people who were going to be on this tour genuinely wanted to read my book. I wanted to make sure that these were people who like fantasy books, that are interested in vampire fantasy, that found the concept of my book interesting. I wanted to make sure it wasn't any sort of service where they like assign people, like, here's your homework, here's your book that you got to do. Because what if I get a reader who only reads sci-fi and they hate fantasy? They're not going to give me the kind of review that I need, as opposed to somebody who's like, hey, I am so down for a vampire fantasy. And so that's why it's important that if you're going to invest in something like a book tour service, make sure that you understand how the book tour works and what's expected of the reviewers before signing up for it so that you know what kind of results that you're going to get, because there's nothing worse than bot reviews or forced reviews. You don't want any of those things, because the thing is, y'all, is even if they do slip under the radar of Amazon reviews, and let me tell you, their algorithms for sensing fake reviews is getting really good, and you can get penalized for having fake reviews on your account. But then also the human factor, that if people see your book has like tons of reviews, but they're all clearly bots, they're all clearly fake, they're going to be suspicious. They're going to not want to read your book, because they're going to be like, what's wrong with it? Why don't real people want to read it? Why don't real people leave feedback about it? So that's important to keep in mind when going through this process, is make sure you do your research and that you know what to expect from the service. So all of that gave me confidence to do this book tour with how it was going to work. In addition to that, there were other people that recommended it that I trust. And there's even one of my author friends who is scheduled to do a book tour for August. So the fact that so many other people have used it and found success with it is a green flag for me, telling me this is a good idea. This is something we should do. So I signed up for it. And a note, my book, Succumb to Darkness, was released in May, and I signed up for this book tour in June for the book tour to take place in July. And the reason why this timeline matters is that if you are considering doing a book tour, make sure that you understand about how much time it's going to take for you to sign up if you want it to coincide with a book release. That these book services typically have some sort of backlog for signing up for tours. So it's not something you can just do at the last minute. If there is a particular deadline that you need this book tour to take place for, you need to make sure that you plan in advance for that. For me, the reason why this timeline happened is that I was still doing research about different book tours that I maybe wanted to do, as well as I needed to be able to get the finances together. Again, like I said, I only have so much financial capability, so I had to make sure that I had my ducks in a row before even signing up for this, because I didn't know exactly how long it was going to take, and I didn't want to get caught with my pants down. And with this being a volunteer-only basis, meaning that people are not forced to read the book, they choose to read the book. This part is very important, because about, I think maybe a few days after I signed up for this tour, I got a message back from the tour service saying, hey, we wanted to make you aware of this in case you wanted to bump up your book tour one tier slot. And the reason why was because I had 25 people interested in my book. They weren't just trying to upsell me things. They said that there was just such an overwhelming response for reviewers that wanted to read my book that they said, hey, if you want to include all of the people that wanted to sign up for your book, if you bump it up a tier, we can make that happen. And y'all, the fact that I had 25 people, twice as many people as I was originally going to pay for, wanting to read my book, you don't say no to that. You just don't. You figure out a way to make it happen. And I figured out a way to make it happen. I pulled some money out of my savings, which I really didn't want to do, but you make it work. You figure it out. And so I did. And so the fact that my tour got expanded from 1 week to 2 weeks and included 25 people we were already off to a great start. So I was really excited for this book tour to start. With that, I had so much interest in my book, which I felt boded really well for the results that I was probably going to yield from this tour. Now, because I don't believe in that whole, hey, you have to wait till the end of the video for the info you really want, ain't nobody got time for that. I'm going to tell y'all the burning question that y'all really want answered is, how many sales did I get directly because of the tour? And unfortunately, the answer is none. Now, I know what some of y'all may be thinking is, how could that have been successful if you didn't get any sales? The sales, of course, are an important goal for me because I have bills to pay and I want people to buy my books. I mean, that's just Captain Obvious here. But my most important priorities that I had for doing this book tour were that I wanted to expand my branding, my audience, and most importantly, I wanted to get more book reviews on Amazon. So first things first, what exactly does expanding my brand and my audience mean? With this specific book tour, I also specifically chose it because it is primarily based out of the UK. And I would say 2/3 of the people that signed up for this book tour were based out of the UK. Only about a third of them were based in the US. And so this was really important to me that I want to expand my audience in the UK, because originally the original publisher that I was working with for this book was based out of the UK. And I mean, that's a whole other drama llama story. We're not going to get into why that didn't work out with that publisher. But the fact that I already had interest in this book from the UK told me that I need to pursue that I need to pursue chasing that audience and getting more UK eyes on this book to potentially then be a gateway to UK people being interested in my other books. Or even if they're only interested in this book, that's still great. So that was also a big motivator, is that I wanted to grow my audience to not just the US, but across the pond. So that was great. And then the fact also that I could get more Amazon book reviews out of this is super helpful, because unfortunately the world we live in is we have to live by the algorithms in order to get our stuff seen and engaged with and eventually make that money. And you have to play nice with the algorithms. And specifically, Amazon's benchmarks are to get any sort of traction on your book, you need at least 25 reviews. And then if you want your book to really actually be paid attention to by the algorithm, where it actually starts recommending your book to people. So if you notice when you go on Amazon and you're like clicking on a thing to look at if you want to buy or not, if you scroll down, there will be a little banner that's like, hey, if you like this, you might also like this. And there are two separate ones. There's one where it says that it's paid advertising, that these things people have paid for this to be pushed for you to see. And then there's one below that where it's their highly rated, highly recommended, and they match certain, I don't know, keywords, whatever, that have to do with whatever the thing is that you're looking at. And in order to get in that tier that's not the paid tier, you need to have at least 50 Amazon reviews. That's a lot. That's a lot, y'all. And the most important point that I want to make about this is that this is not buying reviews. This is not buying bot reviews or fake reviews, because this is a volunteer basis and that the people choose to read and review the book. And then they give their honest views about the book, whether they liked it or they hated it. And then if they want to go ahead and post that on Amazon, is all of their own volition. So yes, is it a paid service? Yes, it is. Do they willingly go to Amazon and put their honest feedback about the book? Yes. So that is the most important indicator here, is that this is them willingly writing reviews for you. It's just that you're kind of cultivating an environment where you're more likely to get more book reviews out of the process. It's kind of like the idea of if you pay to go to a convention and you get really good rapport with a person that you sell a book to there, they are far more likely to leave you an Amazon book review than just some random person that just, I don't know, for whatever reason sees your book and then just buys it, and they have no connection with you and they have no outside reason to leave a review unless they just really, really want to, which is the hardest way to get a review, is that some rando just really likes your book and went out of their way to write a review for you. So those things were my main goals for this book tour, because working as an author, it is definitely a slow burn process in that you really have to work at building your brand, building your audience, building that online engagement, building your Amazon presence, all of that in order at the end of the day to actually sell books and maybe even potentially make a living out of it if you're really good at this. That's what we're working toward, and there's a whole lot of steps on the way to getting there, and this is one of them. That is the biggest reason why I did this book tour, and while yes, it yielded no direct sales, and yes, I won't lie that this yielded no sales directly from the book tour, and that does make me sad, and kind of makes me ask some questions of why. I don't know the answer to that question, which, makes it all the more annoying, but yes, I didn't make any direct sales from the book tour. But the fact that I did get a ton of engagement and that I got a really good number of Amazon reviews, and the fact that I think I made some fans, y'all. I think I made some genuine fans of my books, and we'll see what the future holds for that. We're going to get into the who, what, why, where of this whole process and my experience with it. So this book tour went on from July 10th to July 24th. For whatever reason, the book tour only took place on weekdays, so there were no posts on Saturdays or Sundays, which I found kind of odd because Friday and Saturday are the biggest engagement days on the internet, like, period. So I thought that was a little bit weird, but that's just how they do things, I guess. So, that's something to keep in mind with this particular service. But yeah, it ran for the 2 weeks because I did extend the tour in order to accommodate all 25 reviewers. And I am going to put the pricing below so that y'all can see with full transparency what I paid for the initial tier that I signed up for, what I paid for the bump up to accommodate so that I could have all of the people that were interested actually be a part of the tour. And then most importantly, also paying for all the physical copies of the books to be sent to all the reviewers. That is a cost that you can avoid with this particular service if you choose to do that, in that they do have an ebook only option where you can send a free ebook copy to all of the reviewer people. You can totally do that. The reason why I chose not to do that and why I chose to go ahead with the physical copy option, and it wasn't only, it was if people wanted an ebook copy, I provided that. But the overwhelming vast majority of people wanted a physical book. And the reason for that is because I'm sure y'all have seen these posts on Instagram, the Bookstagrammer posts, where, it'll be a pretty picture of a book and it's like maybe in front of a bookshelf, or it's like on a lovely little like display thing on a table with like a nice, tablecloth or blanket, and there's like flowers and a cup of coffee and I don't know, it's like all pretty and decorated with all this stuff, or maybe the person's sitting in their favorite reading chair, or they're in a gorgeous outside location. I don't know. They make these really pretty posts featuring these books, and they like curate it with all this decorating stuff, and they look really nice and they're really eye-catching. That right there was my biggest motivator for why I shelled out. And let me tell y'all, it was a pretty penny. Right here. Yeah, that much money to give these people physical copies of my books was because I wanted those posts. Because again, I wanted to set myself up for success. And I know for a fact that people are most likely to engage with a post if it has a very pretty picture to accompany it. The number of people that did create these really pretty little curated posts with my book was in the vast majority. And so I am so glad that I shelled out for the physical copies so that people could make those really pretty posts. And of course, they got the most engagement out of all the posts, the ones where they did have the nice, pretty, curated, decorated photo of the book with all the things. And I do highly recommend that if you do one of these book tours, that you save up and go that route. While it is an option to do ebook only, again, you're going to set yourself up for success if you're able to make sure that you check all the boxes in this case. This isn't going above and beyond and adding extra frills. This is making sure that the posts these people are going to make are going to have the best chance at having the most engagement. And the best way to do that is to have an actual thing for them to make content with. So that's an important piece of why I shelled out all this money to do this. So how it works is that the books are then sent out to the readers, and all of this is done X amount of time in advance. They schedule the tour based on when you sign up for doing the tour service so that it gives the readers a proper amount of time to actually read your book and to be able to craft a review and, create whatever fun content that they want to create for it. So this is definitely something that takes a few weeks for everything to be put together. So this is not a last minute thing that you can just boop, push a button and it just magically does the things. Like, this is something you really need to plan out in advance. Make sure that whatever book tour service you're looking into, that you look at, what their scheduling is and all that, especially if you want this to coincide with a book release. So make sure you do your research on that, because it does take a good amount of time for all of this to be planned out and to fall into place. Now, it was not required of the reviewers, but some of them did it of their own volition, which was great. Some of them did do preview teaser posts. So what that means is, they showed like, ooh, my book just came in the mail, and they do the little, like reveal with the unboxing and all that cute stuff. Or they did like a little teaser post being like, hey, I'm going to be reading this book and giving my review. Be sure to stay tuned. And they would give the day that they're assigned to post the review. And that was the other thing that I really loved about this particular book service, is that they assigned everyone, this is your day to post on. And what that does is it ensures that people actually follow through and post. Is if you give people a deadline for something, they're far more likely to do it instead of just, hey, just post it whenever you feel like. It just motivates people to do the thing they're supposed to do. And then 2, it gives your campaign both momentum and consistency. And this is really important for growing your engagement with the algorithm, is the fact that there were 1 to 3 posts about my book every single day for these 2 weeks. Meant that the algorithm was picking up my book exponentially more and more. And so as the tour went on, the posts got more engagement as it went on, because it was being pushed into more feeds, because they were tagging the same things, they were using the same keywords, stuff like that. All of that is marketing 101 to garnering more engagement and playing nice with the algorithm. So the fact that this tour is highly organized, they are assigned a day, all of the posts are spread out over the course of the campaign, so you don't just suddenly have 10 posts on one day and then none for the next 3 days. And then also the fact that you are tagged in all the posts, the service is tagged in all the posts, and they use specific hashtags for the posts too, so that you're able to find all the posts so that you can see them and engage with them and share them, and then encourage other people to share them and engage with them and stuff. And then also, if for whatever reason you can't find a post, you can go on the book service Instagram and find them through the tag posts on their Instagram. So it makes it very easy to participate in the campaign, to be able to watch everything in real time, to be able to track all the engagement yourself. They just make all of that so easy, and they also clearly understand marketing. They did everything that I personally do for my own campaigns and the things that I do for my clients' campaigns and stuff like that. So they're doing everything by the book. It's definitely legit in that sense, in that they're doing all the things that I myself would do. Now down to the breakdown of how the tour itself actually went on the individual level. There were 25 people in total that signed up to do the tour, and 25 people in total that I sent out my book to, and they were assigned a day to post on. There were a handful of people that I unfortunately did have to DM the day after they were supposed to post and poke them and be like, hey, are you going to post? Can you tell me when you might be posting it? Because life happens, y'all. And I'm not going to fault anybody for that. If somebody has an emergency or something happens, whatever. You can't fault somebody for that. Life happens. Crisis is more important than posting a book review, okay? So we got to cut people some slack for that. So there were a couple of people that I had to remind, and for whatever reason, they were late with their homework basically, but they did post it within a day or two. So yay for them. There were unfortunately 3 people that to this day, it is July 30th today, that as of today, they have not posted yet. And one of them, I was not pleased that they did not post. And when I went to reach out to them, they said they hadn't even read the book yet. Was not pleased to hear that. And they gave me some sort of bogus excuse, and they said that they're going to post it as soon as they're able. And they haven't really posted anything on their account to indicate that they're in the process of reading it or any sort of update like that. So, I mean, we will see, but I'm not going to hold my breath over it. So yeah, wasn't pleased about that. The second one that I reached out to is having a crisis and they feel really bad. So that one gets free pass. Completely understand. Not going to judge them. Whether or not they're going to actually post it all, I mean, we'll see. But at the very least, I hope they're okay and things get resolved for them. The third person, which I'm going to post their name here. There you go. This person. If this person ever approaches you asking to review your book, or if you sign up for a book tour service, make sure you tell the book tour service, do not include this person on the tour. Because This person was at the tail end of the book tour. So they had literally the most amount of time to read the book and get their stuff together to make the post. They had the most amount of time and they didn't do it. And so, I kind of poked them, was like, hey, what's going on? Didn't get a response back. And sent a DM to the service to be like, hey, what's going on with this person? And the book service said they banned this person from their book service and that they are not going to be working as a host for this book service ever again. And that was like, whoa, okay. First of all, I was not pleased that I was not informed of that I had to go poking around for them to tell me that. So I was not pleased about that. So I went back to the person and was like, hey, they said this. What's going on with that? And they were like, oh yeah, they blocked me and da-da-da. And I'm like, okay, well, I, as the author, am kind of the one stuck in the middle here because, I sent you a book. Can you just post your review and you don't have to, include the book tour on it, not tag them, not reference them, not use the hashtags or whatever. Just post the book and your honest thoughts about it. Like literally that's all I'm asking here. I don't think that's asking too much, especially because I sent them a book. Like, this is what I sent you the book for, honey. Like, it's not a present, okay? It's not out of the kindness of my heart. Like, let's all be real here. I'm a business person, okay? And they stopped contacting me after that. They never contacted me ever again. They haven't really had any traction on their Instagram, just at all, like any new posts. So yeah, I expect they're never going to post it. They just essentially they stole a book is really what it comes down to. They stole a book. Boo! And the book service said that the reason why they banned them is that apparently they've done this to other authors and they're now like, third strike and you're out sort of thing. Like, we're done with your shenanigans. Bye. So I'm not the only one that this person has done this to. So yeah, this person, avoid this person because they're just going to take your book and run. Rude. Anyway, moving on. 22 out of the 25 people actually wrote reviews and posted on the book tour. Hooray! That's a big number, and that's the thing is you can't expect that 100% of everything is going to do the things. You're going to have people that for whatever reason are going to, fall off and not do what they're supposed to do. Unfortunately, that's just how people work. There's always going to be the people that sign up to do a thing and then don't follow through at any stage of the process. So you have to build that in. And the fact that there were only 3 people that decided to just, for whatever reason, not do what they were supposed to do out of 25, that's pretty decent. The 4th person that I had a problem with, they did post a review and it was a very nice review. So, I mean, hooray for that. But the problem was that again, the day after they were supposed to post their review, I messaged them, was like, hey, what's going on? And they still have never responded to me, which is just like, okay. And I reached out to the book service and was like, hey, what's going on with this? And they're like, oh, we don't know. And then a couple days later, they posted just a picture of my book. No text, like none at all. That little space when you upload to Instagram, you're supposed to write something. They wrote nothing. It was just blank. So it's just a random picture of my book on their Bookstagram account with no information, no tags, no hashtags, no nothing. And the reason why this in particular is infuriating to me is that engagement is everything for the success of a post. And so if you post something where you just post the picture and then not even like an hour later or something, we're talking a couple days after that, then finally went back and edited it and then put up the review and the hashtags and all this stuff, it's dead in the water. It's dead. The edits don't mean anything. You already posted it. It's already been past 24 hours. It's a couple days later. The post is dead in the water. And of course, it got like basically no engagement. And it's not going to get engagement because that's what they chose to do. Like, if anything, they should have deleted that post and then re-uploaded the image with their review and all that stuff and posted it so that it was fresh. But they didn't do that. Yeah. So that really sucked. And like, it really especially sucks because it was a really nice review, but I'm like, this doesn't help me. This is the epitome of, oops, I forgot to do my homework and I got caught with my pants down is really what it felt like. And on top of that, I was not pleased to see that this particular individual was on my book tour because I had beef with this person in the past. I don't know if they're aware of it on their end. I don't know if any of this had to do with their behavior with with the campaign. But basically, this person is a bookstagrammer that participates in a lot of follow trains. And one of the main reasons why I don't participate in them anymore is because it's gotten to the point where only 1 out of every 20 people on these follow trains will follow back. And that's just a waste of time. It used to be way, way better ratio, but it's just gotten so bad recently that I'm just like, I'm not doing this anymore. So this person was notoriously on tons of these Bookstagrammer follow trains, specifically being one of the hosts. So in the post, they'll be like, hey, you have to follow the hosts. That's a requirement to be a part of the train. And then you comment, and then you follow the people in the comments too. But the people that are a part of the post are required and whatever. And that person was always in the required section. And I can tell you, because I asked around other people, they never followed back anyone ever. So yeah, this person is just so padding and farming their account, and it's just gross. Yeah, so I'm not going to specifically call out that person because I don't need the level of drama that would probably ensue if I posted this person publicly. But yeah, they suck, and you know who you are. I digress. Anyway, moving on. 21 out of the 25 people did what they were supposed to do and garnered some amount of engagement. Still pretty good ratio. Out of those 21 people, there were only 2 people that I felt did lazy posts. And what I mean specifically by that is that, yes, they did post on time. They posted on their designated day, but they didn't even do the bare minimum. Because when I went on the website to see, if you want to apply as a book reviewer, what's required of you, one of their stipulations is that you have to meet a minimum word count for your review. And it was only something like 75 words. It's literally a paragraph, y'all. If you can't write just a simple paragraph about a book you read, you should not be signing up for a book review service thing. And then the other requirement was that you have to post either a 3-star review or above. And the reason for that is not for review farming. It's not for you to provide false reviews. It's the idea of that they don't want anyone hate reading stuff and giving 1-star reviews. And it's also the idea of if you genuinely, for whatever reason, hate this book and want to give it a 1-star review, the book tour doesn't want you to post that 1-star review on the book tour. But of course, no one is going to stop them from, if they want to go on my Amazon and post that 1-star review, that's their prerogative. And I know that a lot of authors complain about any number of star reviews. There are some that will literally pitch a fit over 4-star reviews, which I think is completely insane. Yeah, if somebody wants to leave a 1-star review, a legit 1-star review on one of my books, and they have their reasons for why they didn't like the book, that's their business. And I'm not going to call anybody out for that. You didn't like the book, you didn't like the book. That's okay. But yeah, they had that as one of the rules built in because they want to make sure that people who are actually interested in reading that book are the ones reviewing it, that you just don't have somebody just, going around and being a troll or whatever. And so the fact that they had a minimum word count for what you're supposed to write for your review, one person, oh, bless their heart, I highly suspect what happened is that I think they were reading too many books all at the same time. I think they were participating on too many book tours because on their account, they were doing a lot of book tours at the same time. So I think this is what happened. I think they got my book confused with another book that they were reading because a bunch of the stuff they wrote in the review had nothing to do with anything that happens in the book. And I was just like, we in the Twilight Zone? What book did you read? What book got sent to you? Because that's not my book. It was very weird. It was very weird, y'all. I mean, they gave me a nice review and they liked it, but what they wrote had nothing to do with the story, and it was very weird. And I was like, okay, radio. So even though yeah, it was a nice review and it had engagement, I felt like that was an unsuccessful post on the campaign because people reading that are getting a wrong idea of what the book's actually about. And I'm just like, okay. So there's that. And then the second one felt very much like the kid who realized they had a book report due the next day and they went on some random Wikipedia or Cliff Notes thing. And yeah, that's what it felt like. It was one sentence, one singular little sentence, and it was literally just that they thought that the book cover was pretty. Nothing about the actual story, which tells me they didn't read it. And so, yeah, don't really appreciate that Like, again, why are you signing up to do this book tour if you are not willing to actually read the book and write a review on it? Like, this is not rocket science, y'all. It's not, but here we are. People are gonna people, unfortunately. So that brings us down to 19 out of the 25 reviewers actually did what they were supposed to do and wrote nice reviews. And those 19 people, this is for you. This is for you 19 people. I want to thank y'all so much for taking the time to read my book and to write such awesome reviews about it. I read every single one of them. I appreciated everything that y'all wrote. And I just want to thank y'all so much for being a part of the book tour and for really helping to broaden my audience and just bringing more attention to my book. So thank y'all so much for that, because it's a huge help. As an author, this is the kind of engagement and the type of readership that we really need. So thank you for doing your part. And of those 19 people, 11 of them put their reviews on Amazon. And I know we're going further down the list, y'all, and the numbers are getting smaller, but honestly, this is just how stuff works. Is as you go down the level of the steps people have to do, fewer of the people are going to do all the steps. So this is just a breakdown of, I was expecting this. I was expecting the level of engagement to just go down as you ask people to do more things. So this was not a surprise. But the fact that I had 11 people out of the 25 did in fact go to Amazon and left reviews, and they're all fantastic reviews, y'all. They are all anywhere from 3 to 5 stars, and they left long reviews, anywhere from a paragraph to like a whole page, y'all. Like a whole page, all about everything they thought about the book. And that is so worth it. Because having those kind of passionate, legitimate reviews on your Amazon page is everything. Because people read the reviews before they buy something to be like, hey, do I really want to buy this? Is it really good or is it bad? Whatever. So those are so valuable, and those are going to continue to help my book get into more hands of readers. It's just how it is. And so I'm really grateful that I had that many. And not only that, the fact that only one of those reviews was a US review. 10 of them were for the UK. So I met my goal, y'all. I met my goal of expanding my audience in the UK via this book tour. So that was huge for me. That is just such a big piece of the puzzle that I was looking to accomplish, and I did. So hooray for that. So that was all the good stuff with all of the awesome reviews that people left me. And the biggest feedback that I got, so the most common feedback that I got that really impacted me as an author, is first things first, the fact that not only did so many of the reviewers say that they loved the cover, and including our one-liner person, not really taking too much stock in them saying they liked the cover, because clearly they didn't, whatever. That everybody said that they love the cover. And not only that, a lot of the comments on the posts, the people said, oh my God, that cover looks amazing. I want to read that book. That was a huge piece of the puzzle that I was looking for, because prior to doing this book tour, me and Brian have been exploring using Amazon ads for the books for the first time. This is something we haven't tried yet because, one, it costs money, and then two, it's something that we just don't really know how to do yet. So we decided to just jump right in and just try it just to see what happens. So unfortunately that was a bust, and we have a ton of research that we're going to do now with what we found out about it to see what we can do to do better. And I think part of it again is because when we did that, there was only like one book review on Succumb to Darkness. So I definitely think that had a part to do with the not success of the Amazon ads. The biggest thing we were worried about is because how the Amazon ad works is it's pretty much just this very tiny little like thumbnail of your book cover, and it's literally like this big. And so we were wondering, hey, are people not engaged with the book cover? Is it because of the book cover that we're not getting any success with these Amazon ads? And so to get that feedback from this book tour, that everyone, like just landslide of feedback that the book cover is awesome. So now we know that at least that's not a factor in why the Amazon ads didn't work is that the book cover is awesome. Period, end of sentence. Everyone loves the book cover, and people were looking at the book cover and they're like, I want to read that book just based on looking at the book cover. So that's really good feedback to know, because your book cover does have a lot to do with whether or not your book will sell. Because as much as that saying is, don't judge a book by its cover, that's exactly what people do. They look at a book cover and that's the first thing they see, and they're like, does this look interesting to me or not? And if it doesn't, they're not going to bother to read the summary. They're not going to care. They're just going to move on. So knowing that that is not a factor going forward in what we need to change or figure out or whatever with our marketing strategy is huge, y'all. Especially because I love this book cover. It's so pretty. I didn't want to change it. I was like, oh, I don't want to have to change it. So I'm glad I don't have to. Yay. So that was really helpful for me as an author. But then also, this also gives me great feedback when I go to conventions in the talking points that I want to have with people and the things that I want to talk about on panels about this specific book, is having the feedback from people who read it on what they thought. And the other overwhelming feedback that I got is that this book is very fast-paced and very in your face. And this is not a good or a bad thing. This is just the way that I wrote it, and I was aware of that. I did it. I intentionally wrote it that way. So that's not like a surprise or anything. But the fact that so many people mentioned that, and that there were only 2 that said that they did not like that they wish that I had been a little more leisurely in the pace of the book. And that's okay. And you're going to get feedback like that on your books, where people are going to tell you, I wish the book had this, or I wish the book that, or, whatever. And it's great to have that feedback so that you know that, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you need to change what you do with your books in the future. I mean, it might be an indicator that you should change that, but it's not a like 100% of the time, yes, make these changes. Because the thing is that the overwhelming response was that people did like that the pacing was very fast and in your face. And in fact, there were several people that said they read it in one sitting because of that. They literally said, I could not put this book down. That is like the ultimate compliment for an author. Someone saying they could not put the book down and that they read it in one sitting. That is like A++, gold star. That is what every author wants to hear. And so the fact that like there were so many people that jived with that made me so happy. And the thing is that knowing that there were other people that didn't like that, that's okay. And then that tells me that going forward, I should let people know, hey, if this fast pacing is not your cup of tea, this is not the book for you. But hey, guess what? My other books, they all have the la Sunday stroll leisurely pace. So now this also gives me a better idea of when I'm in person with people, I can better recommend books. That I can be like, hey, this is going to be your cup of tea. This is not going to be your cup of tea. All of that feedback is helpful to me as the author so that I can ultimately better sell my books to people. And then the last bit of feedback that was really helpful for me and really validating was that so many people compared my book to Dracula and to Interview with a Vampire, and that they specifically talked about that they loved that it went back to the roots of vampire stories with the dark romance and vampires being predators and just the old style vampirism lore. And that was another thing that was my goal with this book. I did that intentionally. And I'm so glad that that came through, and it came through in a positive way, that people liked it. Because in recent years, we've had a lot of vampire books on the market, but they've been more of like the Twilight and teenage werewolf persuasion. So this more like modern style of vampires. And so I'm so glad that not only is there still interest in the more traditional style of vampire, but also that people really like that is really helpful, because that tells me that it's okay. This audience is still around and kicking. They still want more. And so that's good for me as a reader, because then I know there's still going to be genuine interest in this book, that there are going to be more readers that I can reach out to, that it's not just, oh, we've completely moved on from this style of the genre, that there is still genuine interest in that is helpful for me as an author to know with trying to sell this book. And in addition to all that, there were some people that did go above and beyond. There were, as I said, some people that did the fun teaser posts where they're like, ooh, the unboxing, and ooh, the teaser post for, coming soon and all that. And there was a person who did a couple of TikTok videos, which was awesome. And then there were also a couple of people that put the review up on their official blog websites, which is also awesome. Because as I've said for my own marketing strategies, a big part of the strategy is that you want your stuff posted in multiple places. That the more you have it posted out there, the more likely that people are going to come across it. You need to have it just everywhere that you can. And there is a fine line between posting everywhere and spam. And you need to make sure that you're careful about that line because you don't want to get shadow banned or for people to just get annoyed at you. But you can't just post something once and then call it good, because that's not how the algorithms work. You have to continue to post about a thing, post it on different platforms and stuff like that so that it picks up engagement based on the search engine SEO. All of this matters. All of this ties in. So having it in more places on the book tour was also really awesome and really helpful. But here's some of the nitty-gritty that I did discover about the book tour. And going forward, I am going to be more diligent of being more aware of this in the future, especially with going forward with what book tours I want to participate on and what books I want to have participate in book tours, what to look for so that, again, I can set myself up for success. So first things first, with the engagement on the Instagram posts, because this book tour, Love Books Tours, primarily operates in Instagram. They do have upper level tiers where they will require the reviewers to post on other platforms, but those were way more expensive and I just, quite frankly, couldn't afford it. But their main focus is Instagram, which honestly is where the majority of the book community is anyway, so that worked fine for me. But a thing to keep in mind, not just for this book tour, but just any book tour in general, is that there were a good amount of posts that it was obvious that they had post padding. And what this means is that they will make sure that they already have other accounts liking and commenting on a post so that then that triggers the algorithm to be like, oh, hey, people are interacting with this post, and it gets pushed up in the feeds that then other people see it and will like it and engage with it. And I actually wasn't the one who noticed this. It was Brian who pointed it out to me. And so I kind of did a deep dive in looking at a lot of the posts and found this to be happening on the ones that had the most engagement. And this is not a bad thing, y'all. This is not a bad thing, because honestly, I do this on my own posts. And the difference between post padding and then just straight up having bots is that post padding is oftentimes either you personally have multiple accounts that you utilize, or you have some sort of community network or friends that will pad on your behalf. And what that means is that, like, for instance, I have multiple platforms for myself. I have my author one, I have my gaming one, I have one with Squishy. They're active, real accounts that I post real stuff on. They're not just there just for padding. And I go and make sure that I like all of my stuff with my other accounts so that it doesn't just sit there at zero. Because the best way to get more likes and more engagement on a post is to give it more likes and more engagement in the first place. So it's kind of like just the little jump start to get things started. You want to be wary of this if that's the only engagement on a post is obvious padding and bots and things like that. Then it's kind of like, this person's just inflating their account and they're not actually getting any real engagement. So that's important to keep in mind. But it did become obvious to me that the posts that had the highest amount of engagement clearly did have other bookstagrammers comment and like on the post first, and then other people started to fall in line and start liking and commenting on it, which is fine. It's honestly a smart marketing strategy, but it is something that you need to make sure you're aware of that's happening when you're judging all of the engagement on these book tours. So just make sure there is engagement outside of the bubble, essentially, in order to garner if this is a success or not. The other thing that I learned about during this book tour that made me kind of sad is there is a thing called parking lot blogs. And what this means is that for the purposes of analogy so that we can all be on the same page, is let's say there is a bookstagrammer that has an official website that they blog about the books they read on. And these people who have parking lot blogs will have their main blog website where they like actually blog about stuff. Oh, today I went and did this and blah, blah, blah. And, you know, some interesting blog post thing about something. I don't know. And people are actually engaging with it. It's getting views, it's getting likes, it's getting comments, all that stuff. And then they'll have a separate blog that is just for their book reviews, and they'll just throw them up there, and there's zero engagement. And basically what the purpose of this is so that these kind of people can like sign up for like these book services and stuff. Or, you know, they're the people that are in the DMs being like, hey, you know, like give me a free book and pay me and I'll write a review about your book and whatever. And they will just put your review up on this parking lot just so that then they can point to it and be like, look, see, I did it, pay me. But it doesn't do anything for you. It has zero engagement. It just exists on the internet now, and that's kind of it. And by itself, that does nothing for you. It's just a thing that nobody's going to read or look at or engage with. So that helps you not at all as an author. So it's also important to make sure that when you're researching these sort of book tour services, that if they do have a large blog focus, to then look at the blogs that they share that they have been featured on in the past, go and make sure that those blogs actually have engagement so that your book doesn't just end up in a parking lot where it's never going to be interacted with. Now, the book blogs that were posted about Succumb to Darkness were not parking lot book blogs, thank goodness. But it is just something that you need to be aware of when doing your research for these book tours, is make sure that you don't do a blog-centric tour and your book just ends up in a bunch of different parking lots and nobody ever sees it or does anything with it. So keep that in mind, because that's not going to help you build your audience, and it's certainly not going to get you any sales. So all in all, I would say that this campaign was a success with an asterisk in that I met my goals. I didn't make any sales, unfortunately. But also, this is my first time doing this. And as I always tell everybody, doing anything for the first time is not typically going to be, you know, a rock star event. You're not necessarily going to get all the bells and whistles and everything that you want. So, you know, you have to be very specific with yourself about what goals am I trying to meet here and gauge your success on that. So I did have success in that I reached an audience in the UK. I'm pretty sure I got some fans out of it based on some of the DMs that I had with people talking to me about how they're interested in not just Succumb to Darkness, but my other books as well. And further proof of that, well, again, I have to put an asterisk next to proof here because there's no way to specifically know this, but just based on the timing and some of the DMs that I got, I do think, because I made a sale on Freya's Baby and Geisha Hands, I do think that that had something to do with that, in that there were some people that expressed interest where they not only liked Succumb to Darkness, but they really like my writing style as an author. And I sent them information about where they could find my other books. So I do think those two sales did possibly come out of that. So that is important too, is did you win fans out of this? Do people like you as an author that they want to read more books by you? Did they convince their fan base, their followers, to be interested in your book? And I think the answer to all of that is yes. I'd say the only failing was that I didn't get any sales out of this. Will I do more book tours going forward? The answer is yes, is that I do think that this is a good tool to use in order to continue building my brand. Most importantly, continuing to get more reviews on Amazon so that I can get more visibility and discoverability with my books. And I really do believe that I think that this is one of those momentum things that I have to keep building in order to get those sales that I'm looking for. And I'm not just talking about like 1 or 2 sales, y'all. I'm talking about like significant sales. So, and that's the strategy I used when I first started out with all this doing conventions is, yeah, my first few conventions I did not sell very many books. And that's just how it goes. But as time went on, I started selling more books at conventions. It's something you have to build up with. Unfortunately, it's a slow burn industry. That's just kind of how it works, unless you have a publicist or you got signed with an agent, or, you know, insert basically extra things that put you several levels above here, that you're not just doing the slog all by yourself. So yeah, so I'm definitely going to be doing more book tours in the future. In fact, I just yesterday signed up with another book tour service called Silver Dagger Book Tours. And this is another one that came reputable, that other people that I know have used and I did research into. So I'm very excited to basically compare and contrast with Love Books Tours, see how those stack up, and also keep my mind and my ears open to see if there are any other book tours that might be reputable that I might want to jump on in the future. We'll see. But basically, going forward, my goal is that I definitely do want to utilize book tours to give more publicity to Succumb to Darkness. I do plan on that. I do want to do a book tour for the release of my 7th novel, Be Mine, which I'm working on currently. The manuscript isn't finished yet, but we're making awesome progress. The book is, I would say, about 75% complete at this point. And then most importantly, I also want to plan on doing book tours for my other books so that they can also start getting the Amazon book reviews that they really need in order to push them up in the algorithms and just really get that renewed interest in them. So those are my goals going forward, and I will keep y'all posted on how things unfold with Silver Dagger Book Tours, and then eventually I'll do another video like this reviewing that service and telling y'all all about it. So I hope y'all found this video helpful. If you did, please be sure to give it a like, and if you're new, subscribe. All right, y'all, thank you so much for watching. Take care. Bye bye.